Hello and welcome to the Daily Dulcinea. Today is July 30th, 2008, and on this day in history in 1871, a boiler exploded on a Staten Island ferry, killing 125 passengers. Chris, can you tell us a little bit about the events that day?
Sure, Kate. Yeah, it was a beautiful Sunday afternoon around 1:30 p.m., and about 200 people boarded the ferry that day, and they all walked to the end of the ship where they could get the nicest views and have the most pleasant experience. But little did they know, right below them was the huge boiler that was about to explode.
And the boiler was huge. It was 24 feet long,
Right.
10 feet wide.
Right.
So what happened? Why do they think that it exploded?
Well, there's no exact cause because, like we said, it was in 1871, and they didn't have the same techniques of finding out why things like this happened. But the engineer of the boat, his name was Henry Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
He actually speculated that there was a patch of steel that became loose at the bottom of the boiler, which then ruptured and caused the explosion.
Okay.
So.
And 125 people were killed.
Right.
And I understand that we have an article from the New York Times, actually, from that day, from the following day in 1871.
Right.
And it outlines kind of the scene that happened that
Right.
day.
This article is published shortly after the disaster, and it actually takes a very graphic look at this event. And they have a pretty graphic quote that reads, "In this mass of broken timbers were over 100 persons scalded, mangled, and presented a more hideous spectacle than ever did the bloodiest battlefield in human history." So that can only just give you the image of how horrific it was that
Yeah.
day.
And so who do they think was responsible for this? I mean, were like the president of the Staten Island
Right.
Ferry, did they get in trouble, or
Well,
what happened?
Jacob Vanderbilt, who was the president of the Staten Island Ferry Company, he was actually tried, and he wasn't convicted. He wasn't convicted of the crime, but he was tried by a jury, and also the ship's engineer Henry Robinson, who's also black, which kind of caused a huge controversy in the newspapers the following days.
Right.
And lots of people kind of had racist comments about that,
Right.
but he wasn't charged at all, and the president definitely gave his support to him. So.
And while this was the single greatest loss of life in Staten Island ferry history, this is not the last accident in which people died. There was one quite recently, actually.
Right. It was right in 2003. I think we can all remember this. The pilot was also at fault for this because he was the captain. He was going back. The boat was coming back into the slip, and just before he hit the side of the dock, killing 10 people, which was pretty awful in its own right.
Of course, and 10 people were killed that day,
Right.
as you said. But Chris, Staten Island Ferry has a very long history, which not a lot of people realize. It
Right.
actually goes back to the 1600s.
Uh-huh.
Not this particular Staten
Right,
Ferry,
but there were forms of transportation between Staten Island and Brooklyn and Manhattan, and even going back to rowboats and sailboats, actually. So there's a very rich history. And on our guide, you can go to the StatenIslandMuseum.org, which talks a lot about that history.
Great. And have you ever been on the Staten Island
No,
Ferry?
I haven't, and I've lived in New York my entire life, so
I know,
I want
there's
to
really-
I want to change that.
You don't really have an excuse for
I don't
not.
have an excuse, and
You're going
I'm
to have
gonna
to
do
try
it.
it out.
Yeah, hopefully there are no disasters though.
Hopefully, I bet there won't be.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your report. And for more information on this story as well as others, please visit us at findingDulcinea.com. Thanks.